up, everyone? I'm out in the shop today, still light duty. Just kind of walking around, picking stuff up and looking at things. And I got to looking at my steering. Again, I still don't like how everything is, so I move something, I let it sit for a day or two, and I come back and I look at it again and maybe make a little change. And so today I'll show you what I did. So I've been just keeping it the way Barnes designed it, but today I got to looking at it. If I just build a double shear to come over the top of this, move the drag link up, by doing that, my panhard could actually drop down or come up a hole on this side and drop down a hole on that side, flattened it out a bunch, so that should help with bump steer. And also it gave me clearance over there on the pitman arm. And in doing all this, I've noticed I would need to, when I turn now, it gets into this nut, which is fine. I can actually bend or bring this mount back just a little bit. There's not much clearance here. I need to put a tiny bend in the panhard bar to clear that, which will give me clearance over at the diff. And then this mount, you can see it's on an angled section of the frame. I'm gonna try and take some material out of this side of it, probably just follow their laser cut and lay that thing flatter on the frame, because I'm gonna have to move it back some, and that will actually make my panhard too short. So that'll, changing this, that'll actually bring the mount back to the panhard length that I have, and I didn't waste the tubing. Our angles, it's hard to get in there with these sawhorses. I need to get the angle finder in there, but they are looking pretty good. Looks like the drag link could come down a little bit. I could move the steering box down about a 1/4 inch, but we'll see. I mean, it's really good. And actually, yeah, we'll just have to see on that. I might end up just modifying, trimming some out of the bottom of this mount and lowering the tower there. That way I can get those angles exactly the same when sitting straight forward. So I'm actually much happier with that now. It's been weighing on my mind for weeks. Kind of sucks when you can't actually work on it. You can just look at it and let it terrorize you. But I think I got a game plan now, and I'm going to be a lot happier with the final outcome. All right, so with the angle gauge on there, it's hard to get an angle where you can actually read it. Okay, so we're 9.39, 9.4 right there. Going up, oh, there we go. We're 9.94 there, so we're a 1/2 degree off. I can probably live with a 1/2 degree off. That's not too bad. Like I said, I can make a little fine adjustment there by doing some grinding on the bottom of that, getting it just to sit down a tiny bit, and probably get them damn near dead even, and that'll be awesome for bump steer. The only difference will be that the drag link is like 3.5 to 4 inches longer than the panhard bar. So you want those to be the same length and same angle, but I'm not gonna be able to do that. I just don't have the real estate for it. So we'll take what we can get. All right. Well, I looked at it, and I even tacked the brackets for the ram assist steering. And once I did that, that's an 8-inch travel ram, and it actually is just long enough. I was worried that it was gonna have too long of a throw and try and break the sector shaft in the steering box. I'd have to limit the ram, but it's actually just enough when it's turned all the way left or all the way right. That gap there between the tire and the link is 3 inches on each side, and it should be, I bet the 43s are actually gonna rub a little bit, but at least I'm not maxing everything out to where I have hydraulic pressure trying to break it. The ram being the limiting factor is actually a really good thing. So I did that. When I turned it all the way over, everything clears now. It doesn't hit here anymore like it was, because it was allowed to turn too far without the ram. I pulled the panhard bar out and I marked it. I'm just going to throw a little bit of a bend in it. We're going to test our bender. We've never done quarter wall thickness on this bender. It's always been just 1/8 inch. So I've got it sitting in the bender now, and we're going to give it a try. Hopefully it'll throw a little bit of a bend in there, but we're asking a lot. That's pretty stout tubing. You can't really see down in there, but there's a line drawn on the tube, and I'll give it just enough bend to fit around the upper third link on top of the axle. So I think if we can get even just 10 degrees bend into this tube, that'll allow us to kick it off just enough to clear that just fine. And then I want to rework the bracket on the frame side on the upper part of this. So we'll see if we can bend her. All right, well, let's throw our angle finder on here. Got to put a little tension into it real quick, and then we'll zero that out. Helps if you shut the valve. My dad was bending tubing earlier today. It's really hard to tell if it is bending or not. I'm gonna try and zero it. Yeah, zero-ish, 0.31 up. Let's see. Try and, it's about as good as I'm gonna get there. So that was 0.30, we're 1 degree up right there. It's bending it. I'm actually just gonna try 5 degrees to start with. We'll see what that does. Cool. All right, well, I'm glad I didn't go 10 degrees on that. The little 5 degree kick right there opened that up really nice, and then it looks good on that side. I want to rework that bracket to lay it back a little flatter on the frame, and then I think we about have this stuff mocked. Keep forgetting to look at the phone screen instead of at what I'm pointing it at. So try and rework that bracket and line things up better, but I think we're there. All right, this bracket, I gotta take some stuff loose here so I can cut the tacks off the frame. I want to cut this side of the bracket out and square it up. So before I knock the radiator and the tranny cooler down on the ground, I'm gonna move them. Alright. So all I'm going to do, I got to remove some material on this side. Basically I'm going to continue this line and just cut it straight there and straight out the top. Then I'll have to do a little bit of a weird cut across this top piece. But by doing that, I can square this thing up quite a bit with the frame. We'll just try it and check it out. Well, that's a lot better. I might have went a little bit too far with it. I can always grind the other side back down some, but it fits much more square with the frame. I like that. I didn't like the angle that it had. Yeah, it looks better all the way around. So, cool. Figured since I got things kind of bent and maneuvered around and everything and tacked, I would try and do a little bit of flexing just to check for clearances. It could go further. There's one spot that's, it's hard to tell. There's a bolt and it just clears on the diff cover. If I move that cover out just a little bit, then the pitman arm is gonna hit it. Right now it just clears. And honestly, this is right at, I mean, that's up at full bump anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about it, I don't think. But yeah, I already did this other side and it flexed up. I knew I was gonna have to. I have to notch, you know, I already drew that mark there. That's way too big. I just have to notch a little bit right here, probably 3/8. I'll probably notch it 5/8 because I'm gonna use a chunk of 2-inch 1/8 wall tubing to weld back into that and make it solid. But then that will allow bump at the front here to be on the panhard and the drag link. They'll actually come up and pretty well touch right here. So we'll bump it at that, and yeah, all the rest of the travel will be down anyway. So I think we're looking pretty good. I do need to try and get this thing set to full bump with the axle flat. The problem with that is floor jack doesn't work very good because the center of the axle has that slant on it, so it comes up here, doesn't work right. And my strap that I have tied to the center, it can't pick like that without putting a ton of pressure on the face. All right, we got it lifted by the strap and the jack under that side. And this is about 1 inch from bump. I've got about 2 inches of clearance on the panhard bar to the cooling fan. I've got about, that's about 5/8 of an inch clearance before these two get into each other, so I'm gonna have to bump it. I probably shouldn't have used you guys to illustrate that, but this here is probably gonna end up being my max bump because I actually want to try and build a double shear off of this too, if at all possible. I just don't know that it's gonna be. But yeah, that's where we're gonna run into our clearance issues at. So that's where our max will be. A little bit of clearance on the engine cradle back there. There we go. It's touching right now, but yeah, that's pretty nice. That's actually really nice. I'm excited with it, and it took a lot of messing around, trying things, moving things, whatever, but it finally looks like something.